You think you know what we're going to talk about.
But unfortunately, I fell down a damn rabbit hole and I've not gotten out yet.
Knife bros.
I literally Googled Sebastian Stan hands.
But just when you least expect it, we changed the game.
Well, yeah, because like usually in astrology, they would partner up air signs with fire signs.
All right, you can huggle.
Time travel stories and
At the end of the day, only one thing matters. We decide.
Well, we should make it a topic. Unfortunately, I didn't take German in school. I took Spanish and I don't remember any of it.
Three Fates Decide podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Three Fates Decide. I am one of your co-hosts, Liz, and I'm with my fellow co-hosts, Sam and Mary. Say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so we're finally on the final book / 2 movies of Harry Potter. Yeah, can't believe it's almost over, but it is. All good things have to come to an end. We're going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I gotta say, I think it was a really smart idea that they split up the book into 2 parts when they finally got around to doing the movies. Although I know for some people it's a little controversial because it's like, oh, it feels like this is only half a movie in a way when you're watching each part, and it's like, well, duh, it was one book.
Right, but they did it right. I agree with you. It was smart of them to do too, because there's even though it's not the biggest book, it has so much that if you were to cut too much out, again, it wouldn't make sense. They already ruined it with the last movie, so it's like they had to make it up.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what it felt like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll start off with like a quick synopsis about what happened, even though it kind of feels hard to because a lot of stuff happened, but
Yeah.
we got to.
So the book itself came out in July of 2007. It was 607 pages. The first movie came out in 2010, and the second movie came out in 2011. That kind of sucked because you had to wait a year to like see the ending. But again, it just left you wanting to see it. So very smart marketing move. But so pretty much Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows. After the events of the previous year, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are entrusted with the quest to find and destroy Lord Voldemort's secret to immortality, which is the Horcruxes. It's supposed to be their final year at Hogwarts, but with the collapse of the Ministry and Voldemort's rise to power, prevents them from attending. Instead, they go on a journey with many obstacles in their path, including Death Eaters, Snatchers, and the mysterious Deathly Hallows. And Harry's connection to the Dark Lord's mind is becoming even stronger. After destroying one of the Horcruxes and discovering the significance of the 3 Deathly Hallows, Harry, Ron, and Hermione continue to seek the other Horcruxes in an attempt to destroy Voldemort, who has now obtained the powerful Elder Wand. Dark Lord discovers Harry's hunt for his Horcruxes and launches an attack on Hogwarts, where the trio return for one last stand against the dark forces that threaten both the wizarding and muggle worlds. It all ends at Hogwarts. Dun, dun, dun. So,
in a way, it kind of started at Hogwarts.
Exactly. It's only, and
It's
again,
only
like,
right that it comes full circle and it ends there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially like in the last book we were talking about, Hogwarts is so significant to both Harry and Voldemort. It is kind of poetic that
It
it is
is.
end there, you know?
It is very much so.
I get it. I get it. I
Yeah.
just remember I saw the first one twice in one day. Literally went to 2 different theaters and saw it twice. One in IMAX and then one in regular theater because I'm that person. And then obviously I went back and saw the second one when that came out. I think I only saw that one once in the theaters though. I didn't go as crazy, but considering how terrible the sixth movie was, I thought they did such a fantastic job with both movies. And I thought where they cut it off in the first movie was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real cliffhanger.
Yeah, and like as you said, like, some people were upset because it's like, oh, well, it's only like half the book, like, so it felt like it got, but with everything thrown in there, it felt like a full movie. Yes, the second movie is an easier watch, I'm gonna say, because like the problem is that the first part of the book and the first movie is them traveling and hiding, and it's not very uh active, I'm
Action
gonna say.
packed.
Yeah, not a lot of action going on, but that's how it is in the book. So like they can't just like make up too much, to make it easier. So yeah, the first movie, if you didn't, I just remember people who didn't read the books were like, that was so boring. Like, I don't get why people like these movies and blah, blah, blah. Maybe if you read the book, you'd understand. Like,
Right.
yes, it was a quote unquote boring movie, but it set up that finale in
Mm-hmm.
the last movie, the eighth movie, beautifully. I walked out very happy with both movies.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like, in a way, because it's in two movies, I think the people that were complaining about the first movie, it's like, well, when you watched the previous movies, when you think about it, the first part of those movies, it's like set up and them trying to follow along and figure out what's going on. But it just feels longer in a way with the part one because of the fact that, you know, you're basically stretching out the story across two movies in a sense.
Hmm.
So in a way, it's kind of following a basic structure that existed in the previous movies. It's just that you didn't notice it because everything wrapped up in one movie versus Deathly Hallows, which is in two. So
Right, exactly. Exactly. So there are obviously still differences between books and the movies. The website that we have been using for all of these, for some reason, gave up with the Deathly Hollows book and did not finish,
Yeah.
which sucks because what they have is amazing, and then they just kind of stop. So I kind of I got another website. Again, yes, there's changes, not anything major, a couple of scenes that I kind of wish that were in there, but it didn't change the course of the movie. The main plot of the book is definitely seen in both movies. So all of these changes didn't hurt the integrity of the story,
right.
but we'll we'll kind of go through them, and I apologize in advance if I repeat stuff because I am going to kind of go off of two different lists, and I feel like I'm going to, and Mary, I know we were talking before this and you said a lot of changes happened pretty much during the first movie anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, but like literally they got through, I think, three or four chapters, the Deathly
Yeah.
Hollows, and then just like gave up.
Yeah. They're like, we're done. It's like, we're done.
I don't want to do anymore. It's like, wait.
Yeah, we're done. I've done. They're like, I've done 6 books, 6 movies. I'm not doing anymore.
So this is going to be interesting going through the changes, but we'll do our best. What a way to end it, it's never easy. But a couple of the main ones that I wanted to point out was in the movie, you see Hermione obliviate her parents' memories of her in order to protect them. You don't actually see this in the book. She does tell Ron and Harry what she did, and she did send them away, I believe, as well.
Yes, sent them to Australia.
Yes, to protect them because, obviously she knew the Death Eaters were going to come after them. But if they don't know who she is, there's a better chance that they won't hurt them.
Exactly.
In film, there is a newspaper article mentioning the book, The Life and Lives of Albus Dumbledore, but the film doesn't really go into depth about that book, where in the book, it's a big part. Dumbledore's life is a huge part of this book. You really get to kind of learn, who he was as a child, and you learn about Gellert Grindelwald, which for the newer movies, that's a kind of big thing. You learn about
Yeah.
his younger sister Ariana, and kind of all this stuff. And you also learn that Harry gets very, very upset about the book, and also about some of the things that he learns as well. He even though people said like he knew Dumbledore kind of the best, he kind of learns he doesn't really know Dumbledore at all. He knows the older Dumbledore, but he doesn't know Dumbledore the way he thought he did. So that's kind of a major thing. But again, it doesn't hurt the integrity of the book that they didn't go into depth. But I guess, again, it's the pro of a book compared to a movie. You can go into depth on things while also doing other things. Movies, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
In the movie, you see the Dursleys leave Harry, but in the book, it is so much better. You get to see not only, the aunt and uncle leave, and if I recall, didn't the aunt have a moment with him too, or was that in the previous book? Yeah,
No,
it
was in the Deathly Hallows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his aunt kind of has a moment, because at the end of the day, that's still her sister's son.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she was a terrible person to him, I think she did have at least a little care for him because it's her sister's son. But what really surprised people was Dudley and Harry had a beautiful moment, because in the previous book, at the very, very beginning of the Half-Blood, no,
Yeah,
of
it was Half-Blood Prince.
was the Half-Blood Prince? I thought it was Dumbledore's army. Oh my God, Order of the Phoenix.
Well, Order of the Phoenix is when he
When the attack
saved
happened.
Dudley. Right. But
right.
then in Half-Blood Prince, when Dumbledore goes to pick up Harry, I think Dudley doesn't seem to be his usual bullying self towards Harry. Like, they're never going to be like friends or anything, but he seemed to be like less antagonistic towards Harry. I think he was sort of still processing a little bit what Harry did for him, despite the fact that Dudley's always been bullying Harry their entire lives, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you saved me from this invisible monster thing, and what do I do about this now?
Right. Yeah. So when they're leaving, first of all, Dudley doesn't understand why Harry's not going with them, which is, and then he actually thanks Harry for saving his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very nice moment, and I liked it. They did film it. It's in the deleted scenes or in the extras or whatever, but it didn't make the final cut of the film, which, that kind of sucked, because I just thought that was a beautiful moment. But again, doesn't hurt the integrity of the films. Also, in the movie, the Dursleys leave on their own, but in actual reality, there's two members of the Order of the Phoenix that take the Dursleys away, because there's no way they'd be able to hide from Voldemort on their own. So there you go. It's never explained in the film how Harry obtains a fragment of the mirror that he peeks into throughout the film, where he thinks he sees Dumbledore's eye, and it turns out to be, spoiler alert, his brother and all that stuff. They don't go into detail as to how that occurs, but again, I guess he just happens to have it. When got to get Harry out of Dursley's home, which is still under protection. In the film, Moody tells everyone head to the Burrow and, whatever. But in the book, they actually all had a plan to go to separate locations that, are related to the Order, and then use a port key to get to the Burrow, because it was just safer. In the book, oh God, this is so sad. Harry keeps Hedwig in her cage. In the movie, she's set free. And I have to say, I think her death in the movie is better than the book. Because in the movie, she's almost like a heroine. She attacks to protect Harry and then gets, shot, and that's how she's killed. Where in the book, she, it's an accidental, she just happens to get hit, and then he loses the cage when him and Hagrid flip upside down and all that stuff. I cried so hard, both reading about Hedwig and watching it. Poor little owl. She's just an owl. Why'd she have to die? Why? Why do animals always have to die?
Because it makes people cry.
Yeah. Well,
that is why they do it.
Pretty much.
It happened. But yes, I prefer the movie death to the book. Just me. I don't know how you guys feel, or if you have the same emotional attachment as I do to Hedwig.
If there's an animal in a movie or a show and I just know it's going to die, I start bawling because I know it's going to die.
Well, and like when I watched the movie and he set her free, I was like, "Oh, maybe they're going to let her live."
Yeah, I know.
It didn't happen, and I was like, "Damn it."
I know.
But again, at least she like attacked one of the Death Eaters, so it's like she fought to the end.
Yeah.
So during the attack, once they all leave Dursley's home and all that stuff, in the book, Hagrid and Harry's pursuers realize that it's Harry, not because Hedwig attacked, but because Harry used Expelliarmus, which they kind of seem like that's his go-to spell. So that's actually how they realized that Hagrid had the real Harry. In the movie, they made it because Hedwig attacked him, but in the book, they all actually had little Hedwigs with them. So it was a little different, but yeah. So that's how, because Harry used his go-to Expelliarmus, and they were like, "Oh, that's him. No one else uses that spell but Harry, so let's go." In the book, Voldemort gives up the pursuit because Harry's wand shoots golden sparks at him, allowing Harry and Hagrid enough time to cross magical boundaries, protecting the Tonks house. In the film, Harry simply manages to flee when Voldemort's wand broke. So that's it. It was definitely a more badass way in the book. Harry wakes up in Tonks's house wandless and without Hagrid in the book, and accuses Tonks's mother of being Bellatrix because he had never met Tonks's parents. But neither Tonks's mother nor father appear in the film. So, which is, again, though unfortunately they have a bad end as well. Tonks' family does not do well in this movie. I mean, in this book.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the book, there's like this whole chapter. I don't even, we don't have to get into it, but basically the Weasley family was going to use a ghoul to pretend to be Ron. So that Ron can go off and help Harry find Horcruxes, and they were just going to say he was like sick by using the ghoul. So that's in the book, but that entire chapter is omitted from the movie, which again, not a big deal. They also ignore Harry's 17th birthday, which releases the trace, which means he can now do magic wherever he wants.
Yay.
At the wedding, Harry actually pretended to be Ron's cousin Barney Weasley, but in the film he just went as himself, which that was like a protection thing because everyone knew he was being seeked out. In the book, old woman who argued with Alpheus Dodge is this woman Meryl, but they never actually said that in the movie. She's just this batty old woman. The attack scene at the wedding was well done. Victor Crumb actually was at the wedding.
Right.
And Ron got very, very jealous as a result. So you know, again,
Yes.
I know I had mentioned a little while ago, like Victor Crumb kind of has a bit more Again, nothing major, and that's why he wasn't in this, because this is the only scene I think he was in the book. So
Pretty
it
sure, yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
So in the book, also, after everyone had made it to the burrow safely, this is before the wedding. I'm backtracking again. I'm sorry. Harry actually announced that he was going to leave and start going off, but Ron confronts Harry and convinces him not to leave the burrow, which does happen in the movie, but it didn't happen the way it happened in the book, which isn't a big deal. It's more of like, instead of confronting him in front of everybody, Harry tried to sneak out, and Ron was like, dude, don't leave. Stay. Okay. At 12 Grimmauld Place, which is the first place that they hide, the dust version of Dumbledore is defeated in the book by saying kill or a variant of the word. However, in the film, he just simply disintegrates when it reaches the trio. Also, if I recall, didn't like something happen with their tongues? Like they couldn't speak at first or something? Am I making that up? I could totally be making it up.
I kind of vaguely remember that.
Right?
Yeah, but I don't remember the significance of it. It's been so long since I've read the book.
Yeah. It sounds familiar, but I can't think of precisely what.
Yeah, that's okay. So Hermione's not very polite to Creature in the film, but in the book she's very kind because we all know she likes elves and wants them to be free and all that. Harry appeases Creature by giving him the fake locket, and they actually find out more about Regulus Black, which is the RAB from previous movie, when they find out that the locket that Harry and Dumbledore risked their lives to go get was fake. And you kind of learn about Regulus, who he is and what his backstory is. And in the movie, they kind of just don't. You find out who he is, like he's a Black, but that's pretty much it. Like that's all you learn, which is again fine. So in the film, Lupin never shows up to Grimmauld Place to explain how everything was changing since Voldemort took over the Ministry. And actually, in that time when he does, Harry and Remus get into a huge blowout because Remus told them that Tonks is pregnant. And because Remus is terrified about the child becoming a werewolf, he actually wants to abandon Tonks and go with the trio, basically to go hunt Horcruxes. And Harry calls him a coward, and they get into like this whole thing, and then Tonks leaves. So that whole thing, Tonks' pregnancy, everything is pretty much ignored except for after Remus is gone and he has the stone, and he talks to him and he goes, Remus, your son. And that's the only time you learn that Remus actually had a son. And that's it.
That was kind of weird.
It's like magical boy. But yeah, so that's a repetitive thing, because later on you do find out that they do have a son named Teddy, named after Tonks's father, and that Harry is the godfather. Yay. Okay.
There's a lot there's a running theme of like cycles and circles when you think about it in Harry Potter.
Yes. Gotta keep it on track. Okay. In the books, the Magic is Might statue portrayed witch, a wizard upon thrones made of muggles. In the film, witch and wizard are standing, and part of the statue foundation is a layer of muggles being crushed under the weight, which again isn't a huge deal. In the book, Harry, while pretending to be Albert Runcorn, meets Percy and Arthur Weasley in the elevator, and he warns Arthur of being tracked, which Arthur takes as a threat. And this doesn't happen in the film, though I do believe it is an extended scene. That part, him warning Arthur, not Percy. Percy's not in the film at all, which is annoying because he becomes a big thing. But whatever.
Yeah.
When Harry breaks into Dolores Umbridge's office in the book, he takes Moody's eye from the door, and that's what alerts the Ministry that there's an intruder. It doesn't happen in the movie.
That was gross.
And also, if I recall, the eye was in her desk in the movie, wasn't it? It wasn't in the door. Or was it in the door? I don't remember. I just watched it too.
Yeah.
whatever. Doesn't matter. In the book, Harry enters the chamber where Mary Cattermole is being interrogated alone and under the invisibility cloak. In the film, he walks in plain view along with Ron, who is impersonating Mary's husband. The very last one that they decide to do on this website, which is such a good website. I'm so mad that they didn't continue. But anyway, in the book, Harry and Hermione take out Umbridge and Yaxley before they have a chance to even react. In the film, Harry just stupefies Umbridge in the face. And in the book, the Patronus, then cast by Umbridge, only protects the interrogators. In the film, it protects everyone in the chamber. So those are the two differences about that scene. And now this is where we get, crazy. In the book, though, the whole break-in at the Ministry, it took them a while to plan this whole thing out. In the movie, it just seemed like they just kind of went for it, but they spent a lot of time figuring out every little detail. But obviously, we don't have time to sit there and watch them plan and plot. So that honestly didn't bother me because that probably would have taken way too long.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, not too many changes. For some reason, every single website that I have found has mentioned this. The whole Harry and Hermione dance scene in the tent in the movie doesn't happen in the book. I personally liked it. It added a little bit of laughter when things had just kind of gotten very, very dark. Ron left and they left the spot that they were the last time they were with Ron. So Ron had no way of finding them at that point because if you watched or read, they were jumping from spot to spot every couple of days, a week, or whatever, just so that no one could find them or track them. So when Ron left, they stayed in that spot a little longer, hoping that he would come back. And then they eventually left. And that was really heartbreaking because now the chances of Ron finding them was pretty much slim to none. So that whole dance in the tent scene in the movie, I actually enjoyed it, but every single one brought that up. It's not, it wasn't crazy. So, okay, so Harry doesn't discover the writing on the snitch until much later on. Earlier in the book, before the wedding, before everything, before he was killed, Scrimmager, who's the Prime Minister of Magic, brings items to Ron, Harry, and Hermione from Dumbledore from his will. Basically, all of these items you kind of find out are to help them continue on the quest to find the Horcruxes. And Harry's one thing that he got is the snitch. He was also supposed to get the sword of Gryffindor, but he said that wasn't allowed because that actually didn't belong to Dumbledore. You find out later in the second movie. Oh, they use it in the second movie, but you learn why later. Why he wanted to give that to Harry, which would have made things so much easier instead of them carrying around that stupid necklace, which is why Ron got ticked off in the first place. If they had the stupid sword, then everything would have been fine. But just saying.
Right.
Getting annoyed. Anyway. Okay. So in the book, Harry sees the writing a lot sooner in the book than he does in the movie. In the book, as soon as he gets it, he kind of goes upstairs and he puts his mouth to it because he knows that snitches have flesh memories and it's his first snitch that he ever caught, which obviously he caught in his mouth. So him, putting his mouth to it would have done whatever. So, but in the movie, he doesn't remember that whole thing until they're almost done with the first movie by that time. So it took him a lot longer to use it. So in the book, they use the invisibility cloak like a million different times. In the movie, they really don't use it much at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally use it all the time.
Yeah, it feels kind of weird, doesn't it? Because it's like, it turns out by itself, it's a pretty awesome item to have regardless. Right. But then
once you find out.
Right. But then it's like in the final book, it turns out to be a more significant thing than you realized. Which I gotta say is one of the things that I can appreciate about the books actually, is that especially when you reread them a few times, you start to realize that actually there were clues that things were more significant than you realized in earlier books that come up again in the later books. And it's especially notable in, like, obviously Deathly Hallows, but you kind of see that a little bit in Half-Blood Prince as well. So
Yeah. So, well, that's not really a change, but they made the Tale of the Three Brothers an animated thing in the movie, as opposed to, Hermione just reading it. But that didn't bother me. That was fine. Poor Peter Pettigrew, or Wormtail, he dies in the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they get taken to Malfoy Manor, Peter Pettigrew's magical metal hand turns against him, and he hesitates for a moment before killing Harry because he, got a little backbone, and I guess there was a curse on it that if he didn't do what he was told, then sorry, and it choked him to death.
Yeah.
So, in the second book, I think he just gets stunned, but no, Peter Pettigrew does die.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, here's one thing that I probably should have mentioned a little earlier. Voldemort couldn't feel the Horcruxes dying in the book.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing.
How is that possible is what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the Horcruxes have part of his soul. How do you not feel yourself dying?
You know, as I think, I could be wrong, but I think J.K. Rowling actually addressed that at some point in a past interview. I think it was because he was already physically suffering from for various reasons, that like he kind of got inured to a certain degree to pain. So he doesn't seem to like realize that this pain sensation I'm feeling is like a fragment of my soul that's being destroyed, if I recall. But
It makes sense.
yeah,
But it just was weird.
yeah,
It's like, dude.
Okay. So the Snatchers, right? There's one that they kind of made a more prominent role in the movie, and I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but it's like Scabier or something. He's If you saw his picture, you would know. But the Snatchers were actually under Greyback's gang. They were his gang in the book. So Greyback helps capture Harry, Ron, and Hermione and bring them to Malfoy Manor. And Bellatrix actually stuns him after seeing Snatchers with the sword and all that, which it does happen in the movie. But it's they made this guy Scabier more prominent when really it's Greyback who was the more prominent leader of the Snatchers, which were basically goons that were hired to get Muggleborns and all that. And unfortunately, you learn Tonks's father was hiding and didn't make it, and it's very sad.
yeah.
Very, very sad. So I know I mentioned before, but you kind of learn about, I mentioned learning about Dumbledore's history and stuff like that. So you find out the story behind Ariana Dumbledore, where in the movie you just see a painting of her at the brothers' place, but it's you find out that she had a very tragic death, and that Albus actually blamed himself as a result, and also Alba IV, his brother, and Albus didn't get along because of his sister's death. But and Harry actually gets very upset about learning this, but in the film he tells Aberforth he doesn't care. He just needs to get to the school, get to Hogwarts.
It's like,
All right.
dude.
Yeah.
So Snape's memories, that's a big one. So they did a great job in the movie depicting Snape's memories. It was beautiful, heartfelt. You learn how much Snape really loved Lily and all this stuff. They left some things out, right? So, which is fine, nothing too crazy, but you don't get to see Snape and Lily meeting James and Sirius for the first time on the Hogwarts Express, where they kind of argue which Hogwarts house is best and all that stuff, which again isn't. But also another one is, I guess, kind of like the falling out between Lily and Snape, where Snape is actually apologizing to Lily for calling her a mudblood, and Lily tells him she's tired of making excuses for him,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how they stopped being friends, even though Snape was madly in love with her.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing I found strange about it in the movie, though, was the fact that, like, he apparently showed up at their house, which is a little strange to me because then it's like, well, if you were at the house, then why did Hagrid end up taking Harry when Snape showed up first? You know?
Well, I think it was that the Order didn't know that Snape was part, like, had changed sides.
That's
Oh,
true too, but but yeah, it just, I don't know. It just
yeah,
felt kind of strange to me.
yeah. No, I get it. Though that made me cry too.
Yeah.
Alan Rickman, man, you got me in the
Oh,
heart.
yeah. He's good at that.
Lily, after all this time, always. Just that one word, always.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Oh God, Snape, why?
I know, right?
You also find out in his memories that Petunia, who's Harry's aunt, wrote to Dumbledore asking if she could go to Hogwarts. So I think that's part of it, is she wanted to be a wizard or a witch. Also.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She wasn't special like her sister.
Mm-hmm.
She was very jealous of her sister.
I just find that like really fascinating that for all like her, hatred of anything, magic related, it turns out that it's actually her resentment of not being able to fit in and get in on this magical stuff that like, she probably secretly found it kind of fascinating as well, but
Right.
she doesn't have magic, so if I can't be part of it, then I'm gonna get rid of it out of my life or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I know, like, they showed how Snape's Patronus matched Lily's because of his love for her and all that stuff. But they didn't, in the book, they kind of go into detail when they're in the woods, when they find the sword at the bottom of the frozen lake or whatever, which basically Snape put there for him, and he has the Patronus lead him. Harry thought it was his mother in the book. They don't really like go into it, but yeah, just
Yeah.
adding that. Going into the battle, which again they did a fantastical job with. That had to be a lot of fun, but like hard as hell to shoot. But how Molly Weasley kills Bellatrix, though, it happens. It is a little bit different, but they made sure they put the iconic line, "Not my daughter, you bitch," which I was happy about because, like, yay, that's right. That's right, Molly. Kick her ass.
Exactly.
In the book, though, Molly like literally just uses like a lethal spell, and in the movie, she immobilizes her and then makes her explode. Basically, I don't know which one I prefer, but basically, at the end of the day, Bellatrix is gone, and Molly
I was gonna say
Weasley,
that's the one I prefer. I
the
just want
the book or the movie.
that Bellatrix is gone.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how
I don't
she's
care
gone.
how she's gone. She's just gone because she killed Sirius.
Yep,
I mean, she was a
exactly.
horrible person anyway, but she killed Sirius, and she was done for me.
Mm-hmm. Out. So I had mentioned Percy Weasley earlier. Percy shows up at the Battle of Hogwarts and fights along his family, right?
yeah.
And is actually next to, it's not George, it's
Fred.
Fred, thank you. And like, they make up and they're like laughing while they're attacking and blah, blah, blah. And then it's, kablooey. And poor Fred gets the
Yeah,
dust with a smile on his face from the
we don't
last
talk
joke he
about
said. Don't talk about that.
we don't talk about Fred. Fred is still alive.
That also made me cry. That made me cry more than any of the other, as sad as those deaths were. That, yeah, that was very sad. But yeah, so Percy does make up with his family at the end before he loses his one brother. The final duel is different in the movie than it is in the book. Again, obviously the ending doesn't matter. Voldemort loses and whatever, but I preferred the movie because obviously it made it more action packed and whatever. But in the book, Harry and Voldemort kind of circle each other like a bunch of gunslingers with like survivors of the battle standing around and watching. Harry shares the truth about like the power of love and Snape's sacrifice and the Elder Wand before using a disarming charm to defeat Voldemort once and for all. Very anticlimactic, I guess. And I remember reading it going, wait, that's it? That was it?
Yeah.
That's a fight? What? But in the movie, they're firing spells back and forth and chasing each other around Hogwarts, and it's definitely more action packed and like hardcore. So I actually do prefer the movie version compared to the book because I do remember reading it going, wait, Voldemort died? Did I miss that? And I had to like reread it.
Yeah, he's like, what?
Yeah.
like,
What?
He was there and then he wasn't. He was gone. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the last noticeable or big thing was actually fate of the Elder Wand. So in the movie, Harry breaks the Elder Wand and throws it off so that no one is like tempted, I guess, to use the power, since Harry is the master of death at this point because he owns all three
The wand.
Hallows, though he dropped the stone in the wood, so I doubt he's gonna find that. But the wand in the book, he uses the Elder Wand to repair his broken Phoenix feather wand. That,
Right.
if you recall, in the first movie broke. He saved it. He kept it. He used the Elder Wand to fix it because he liked it. It was his wand. I get it. And then he actually put the Elder Wand back with Dumbledore.
Yeah, I just thought that was weird that it's like, Harry, don't you want your wand back?
Wait, I'm sorry. No, I don't remember. Now this one's saying he vows to hold on to the Elder Wand, and when he dies, the Elder Wand's power will die with him. But didn't he put it somewhere that no one could get it?
No, he put it back in the tomb,
Right?
didn't he?
That's what I thought. I thought he put it back in Dumbledore's tomb.
Because the purpose was that if the wand was still in the tomb, most people
Wouldn't be going
are
there
not going to
searching.
start. Yeah. I mean, most people are, other than, people like Voldemort, right?
Right.
Would not desecrate tombs and steal stuff.
Right. So
You would hope.
Yeah.
Well, but at the same time, also people don't really believe in the Deathly Hallows. They thought it was a myth.
Right.
So really, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are the only ones that know that the three actually exist now.
Right.
Because Voldemort's dead. So they're, so I think it was safe. Yeah. So those are the major changes. But again, nothing changed the integrity of the plot, unlike the last book/movie, which you all know how we felt about that. But no, I thought they did a fantastic job with both movies. Yes, there was a couple things I wish were in there. Like I said, the Dursleys leaving and Dudley's whole thing and Percy being more involved, especially at the end. I'm okay with the fact that in the movie you didn't see Fred die. Because that I really would have been bawling. It's bad enough, when they walked into the room and they're all standing. It was just, yeah. But the seventh book made me cry so many times. Like I just couldn't deal. I just couldn't do it. The one thing I do have to say about the movie that I didn't like was the very, very end where, like the future with their kids and stuff like that. Number one, again, they don't mention Teddy, Tonks and Remus'
Right.
son. He's there.
Yeah.
You don't learn that Neville is a professor at Hogwarts, which he is.
Took over herbology, didn't he?
Yes, herbology specialty. And they all look creepy as hell. I'm just saying, they look creepy in that last scene. They tried to make them like age and stuff. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
I mean, Emma more or less look kind of the same.
Yeah. No, she was the only one, but I thought the rest of them did not look. It did not look good. But
Yeah.
it's neither here nor there. And obviously, like that sets up next. Well, it's a play, but it's a book. It's actually a 2-part play,
Which I saw on Broadway, yes.
I haven't yet, and I need to. I read it, I do have it. I have the book or the screenplay, I guess, technically, because it's written out like a screenplay as opposed to a book.
It's a funny coincidence, but actually my brother managed to get tickets mainly because like my older niece especially is like a Potterhead, and by pure coincidence the tickets he got were a Saturday night, well, not Saturday night, but Saturday showing, and that particular Saturday happened to be my birthday.
Oh,
It was a funny coincidence. So I got one of the tickets, so I went with them. And actually, for people who are not aware, and are thinking of like coming to New York to watch it, so the way it works is that you watch both halves on the same day, but there's like this really long intermission. Like I think there was like an hour, no, it's like closer to 2 hours, because what happened was we saw the part one in the afternoon, and then later in the evening is when we would go back to watch part two, because during that gap, that was when we went out to eat dinner.
hmm.
And then we went back to watch the part two.
Now I do believe you can do 2 separate days. I think I've heard people that do that. I would kind of just want to do one day, as long as it is. That's all. It's basically seeing 2 Broadway shows
Right.
in one day. But
Yeah.
I want to see it though. I want to see it really bad.
Well, okay, since Mary, I don't know like if Mary has read the play or anything, but it's like
Nope.
okay. You know what? We could probably talk about that play in another episode, or maybe as a bonus thing. I don't know, but
That could be. Well, I've never read the play, and I've obviously never seen it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's been
I
a
would
long time
have.
since I read it, but
Yeah.
maybe in the future.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, yeah. So, I guess final thoughts about Deathly Hallows, but also the whole Harry Potter series, I guess. Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, obviously, fantastic. I've read the books multiple times, so I am in love with story. There's a lot of themes, kind of going in and out, but basically, the main theme is all about, love and how love protects you and overcomes evil and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's actually funny. There is a TikTok that this person was like, call me a crazy Disney adult or whatever, but Harry Potter is literally Star Wars without lightsabers. It is kind of true. They do have very similar underlying themes. I almost wonder if she kind of got us the idea a little bit from there, because if you think about it right now, right? You think about Star Wars. Obviously, it's not identical, but there are very similar-esque things, especially the
Right.
themes that kind of go through there, which is fine. People kind of use certain things to, anyway. But no, I thought the books themselves were fantastic. Movies, obviously, some were amazing that stuck very, very true to the books, or as true as they could. Obviously, the first two being the smallest books were the easiest to stay true. Movie number 6, The Half-Blood Prince, I think needs to just be deleted. Life.
Yes.
And redone. And I know,
Yeah.
Liz, you've mentioned it before, but I do think that if they were to do a series, it probably it'd be able to add a lot more of the stuff that we missed in the movies, because they'd have more time. Each book would be a season, do 7 seasons, and we would literally watch the kids grow up. So who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe in the future they'll do something like that. I mean, as we said, Hollywood can't come up with any other ideas. Might as well recycle Harry Potter.
Yeah. But I would like to actually see Harry Potter have the damn green eyes like he was supposed to.
Yes. He tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
I know.
Poor Dan. He
I know.
couldn't do it.
I know. It wasn't his, and I know it's not his fault, but damn it, he's supposed to have green eyes like his mother, because that was like this huge theme. Everybody always said, "You look just like your father, but you have your mother's eyes."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
It's like,
like,
no, he didn't.
"Son." It's like, no, he doesn't. Just she had green eyes, not blue. And I
Oh.
mean, I'm not saying Dan was wrong for not being able to do it, but it's just like, damn it, Dan, you're supposed to have green eyes.
One more thing I want to mention is obviously throughout the films, like, Harry was a cutie as like a little kid. Ron was a cutie as a little kid. What's his name? Malfoy was a cutie as a little kid, and poor Neville was just not. Dude, Matthew.
Neville was done dirty at the beginning, but
Yes.
holy shit.
Matthew Lewis, who plays Neville Longbottom, he is hot. He is so hot. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's like, how? It's like, how?
Like, dude, where have you been hiding? Tom Felton, I think, also is a good looking guy as an adult.
No,
I
see,
know.
I liked Dean better when he was a kid.
No,
I mean, not in that way, obviously, but
he's not.
I thought he was more. I can't say attractive because I mean, he was
Right,
a
but he was
minor.
cute. He was a cutie.
He was adorable as a kid.
Yeah.
And as he got older, and throughout the entire movies, he was pretty adorable up until probably like the 6th movie, and he was getting more into his adulthood, and I was just like, eh. I mean, I'm not saying he's an ugly person. He's just not my type anymore.
I do find him to be better looking. Daniel Radcliffe, for a while, I was like, ooh, what happened? Now, like he has a very good career ahead of him. He's a good actor, so I wish him all the best. Rupert Grint, though.
Yes, I that poor man.
And I mean, listen, looks are subjective. It's whatever you're into. So anyone who does find him still very good looking, that's all well and good. I just personally think he was much cuter as a child.
Yes, he was adorable.
Yes, Emma Watson
word I
though
would've-
is beautiful.
Yes,
She's absolutely beautiful.
she was so cute as a kid, and she blossomed as she grew, and just
has done well. I think she's taking a break from acting though. Right now, I haven't seen her in anything.
Yeah, the last thing she did was Little Women.
Yes, yeah. So, but yeah, no. But I thought, overall, he did fine in terms of the movies. Books obviously better, but books I think for the most part are always going to be better. It's just how it is because you get more in the books, but they can do that. You can't spend time doing inner monologues in like in film. So it's like I do get it. Again, my biggest complaint is that 6th movie. That was a travesty.
Yes.
I will never forgive them that.
Ever.
You will never be forgiven, David Yates. Never, ever for that monstrosity of a movie.
Oh, Lord.
What about you guys, though?
Yeah, I was definitely more of a book fan than the movies, but I think they did many of the movies well. There was just a few. There was just one glaringly obvious mistake, and we all know which one that is.
Yeah.
Never forgive you. Ruined everything.
I don't think I need to say anymore. Sam has done a really well job of saying it all for us.
Sorry, I took the words right out of your mouth.
You did. Like, literally.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's not much else for me to add. I mean, I more or less agree with you guys. I mean, the books were great as they were, and not all cases, but some of the changes they did in the movies, like it makes sense why they did it, because you have to balance the, integrity of the story and what makes it flow and what's actually visually makes sense for people to watch. Because like you were saying before, like it's hard to film inner monologues and thoughts,
Right.
when you're going from like a, written media into a more visual one. But yeah, overall I thought they did a pretty good job. But But yes, we've already said before, given how Hollywood does have a tendency to not have anything original anymore, I'm seriously expecting at some point in the next few years that they're gonna end up doing Harry Potter again in some way. I mean, look at what they've done so far with the Fantastic Beast
Right.
series. So
Yeah. I mean, and I'd be interested to see how they do, but there's certain characters, I don't know, like Snape, he's always going to be Alan Rickman, always. Like, Alan Rickman was perfect for that role. He
Yeah.
had a voice.
You can't replace him.
Like, so if they were to ever redo this as like a series, I'm interested to know who's going to be filling those shoes, and I feel bad for them because I just don't see how they would ever be able to hold anywhere close to Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, and I'm not saying that Michael Gambon is a bad actor, but having to try to fill the shoes after Richard Harris died
mhm.
to come into the Dumbledore. I mean, Richard Harris was Dumbledore.
Yeah.
That is who. The minute I saw him, I was like, that is who I pictured in my head to play Dumbledore when I was reading the books. And then they went from that to Michael Gambon, and like I said, he's a wonderful actor, very talented. It was not a good role for him because he was too passionate, where Dumbledore has always been he was always calm throughout the entire series of books. He was very calm.
Almost annoyingly so.
Exactly. And then you get Michael Gambon in there, and he's just very over the top and loud and yelling and just very forceful. And it's like, that is not Dumbledore.
Yeah. Oh.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves of that movie, besides Harry's eyes.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I thought they did great with the casting. Obviously, you're never going to get perfect. Perfection is difficult. They did relatively good job for, all that. And, yeah. I can't believe we made it through all 7.
yeah, but we did it.
We did it.
Yay.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch us next time.
And see what we're going to talk about.
Because the 3 fates decide.